Okay. Can we talk about Elias Pettersson?
Oh yeah, because I got graphics too.
I texted you and I said, hey, we got to make sure we talk about Elias Pettersson today because what a game for Elias Pettersson. And I don't know if you ever look at this when you do your job. Do you ever look back and say there's things I regret not making a fuss about or talking about more or bringing it into the media sphere?
No, I make
like
enough of a fuss on everything, so I'm feeling pretty good about my
because mine stands out after last night, and it's something I'll kick myself for forever, and I'm going to try to make sure it doesn't happen again. I've always, and I've talked about it in the past, I'm not, I just didn't talk about it enough, I don't think. Elias Pettersson in a matchup role. They did that in the last game. We always talk about it. It feels like so long ago, but it also feels so recent. That game where it looked like Elias Pettersson was going to turn the corner and become the Canucks shutdown guy, goes toe-to-toe with Matt Barzal. It was their final game before the COVID cancellation, right? Plays in a matchup role there. Does extremely well. They play in the playoffs. He does well there too.
I met my future wife on that night.
Okay.
Just so you know.
St. Louis Blues are the matchup that Elias Pettersson basically can't handle with Ryan O'Reilly there, which is fair. Like, he was a young kid. Still scored really well in that bubble playoffs, but Canucks basically had him in that matchup role over Minnesota. It worked. It worked against Minnesota. Ryan O'Reilly was a different story. They had to kind of move away from it. But, let's not forget that this team was using, your Jay Beagles, your Brandon Sutters in that shutdown role as the hard match of first-line players when Travis Green was the coach of this team. That was what we had before. And now it's moved away from that. But the past two seasons, when they lose these guys, right, like your Beagles, your Sutters, it mattered a lot more than I think anybody thought it would. Like, Wyatt had a line in the Stanchies last night that made me laugh because he wrote, the Canucks penalty kill so far this season has made you wonder if Jay Beagle was actually underpaid when he was here. Right? They don't have that matchup center, right? Pettersson showed early signs of it, right? In that season. And again, like I pointed out, he got overpowered by Ryan O'Reilly, who's a great two-way center, right? There's a guy who's on Selke ballots, okay? They don't try it again, basically ever, right? They move away from it. And I'm not talking about Travis Green. I'm talking about Bruce Boudreau as well. Bruce Boudreau hasn't really used PD in that matchup role. Pettersson told Ian McIntyre of Sports, and I believe it was just a one-on-one conversation, but iMac was the one who tweeted out, that Pettersson's been kind of lobbying Bruce Boudreau to get those matchup minutes. And what we know about Bruce Boudreau as a coach is what he told us last year when he said, guys like PD and Quinn came up to me and said they want to kill penalties, so they're going to until they prove that they can't do it. So he always tries to give the players opportunities, but it sure seemed like it was a while before they moved back to Elias Pettersson in that spot. And again, how many games they played this year? 20? Took them 20 games to get Elias Pettersson into that matchup role. I would say since game one, Pettersson's looked capable of handling those minutes and handling that role as the matchup center.
Yeah. To add to that, do you think anybody Pettersson wants it more than anybody else?
Yeah.
He wants that. He wants to be the number one center.
And he made it clear.
Yeah. He's made it clear. He wants that more than Bo Horvat wants that, or more than JT Miller wants that. The way that I just see it, this is just from me watching them play. I think JT Miller really likes putting up points. I think he loves doing that and doing the offensive thing. But to me, Pettersson wants to go one-on-one with the best and beat him more than anybody on this team, I think. And that's when you get the best out of him, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. There's no other way to say it, is that this is the guy that you do want to build a franchise around, right? You let him come into that role. And again, he did it last night, and he's been lobbying Boudreau for it. I don't think we're seeing Pettersson move out of that. You look at who's on the docket here, I think we see it in Vegas. Obviously, we see it in San Jose. San Jose, he can handle that matchup against San Jose's top guns. He's going to go toe-to-toe with Jack Eichel. I think that's what we're going to see. That's what I think we should see. And again, I feel like matchups never get talked about a ton, but they should be with Elias Pettersson right now. Elias Pettersson should be in that role. And again, this is the quote from Pettersson. He said to iMac, "I love it. I want to play against the best line, the best players. I mentioned to Bruce that I'm ready if he wants to play me there. He's shown he's ready to be there all season long." And again, what I'm going back to when I said at the start, your biggest regret. My biggest regret is not calling for this earlier and saying especially when the team was struggling early on, is saying hey, Elias Pettersson is this team's best two-way center. It's clear. It's been clear for a while now, and he's not getting the best matchups. Like, he's not playing the top minutes, and the other lines are getting caved in. Like,
yeah. You want to see something ridiculous? Alex, can you pull up the Pettersson isolated impact as we cut away from the 12-minute ISO cam on quads there? It's ridiculous how much better the Canucks are on the ice with Pettersson. Like, seeing the expected goals go up 11% with Pettersson on the ice, seeing the expected goals against go down 8% when Pettersson's on the ice. What he's doing at 5-on-5 is just ridiculous. Like, the defending, and you can kind of see here on YouTube for everyone watching here and on the podcast, but we'll break it down for the podcast listeners. Like, Pettersson's defending of the slot and the crease is so impressive. Not so much the crease, I think, a little bit, because, that's not necessarily his area, but the area of the slot that's being changed, like how he just does a good job defending that is incredible. It's wild to see. Also at defensively, like the other thing, can you pull this one up, Alex, the spray chart? Because Pettersson isn't just shooting from one side of the ice. It's all over. It's basically perfectly spread out from where Pettersson is taking his shots from. And it's like he's going to the slot. He's getting a majority of his shot attempts from the slot, but he's getting shots from outside on the left, on the right. It's just this is the best I've seen Pettersson and like just play the game of hockey. Like, obviously he's not scoring like he did in the first 10 games of his career. Like, that was a ridiculous amount. But right now, the hockey that Pettersson is playing as a whole, quads, as a whole, this is the best we've seen of Pettersson, I think, up to this point. And yeah, all the minutes to Pettersson, all the number one matchups. I think he's ready for it and ready to take that on and take that step, because that's still a step that I think he needs to take in his career. And he's definitely, he's at half stride mark at this point. He's almost there. So I think he's ready to take the full step and be there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is the progression that everybody kind of wanted to see from Elias Pettersson. He's really coming into his own as one of the game's best two-way centers. But hey, like, as much as we like to talk about and fans like to say, oh, well, he should be up for the Selke. You're not going to be up for the Selke if you're not playing against top lines.
Right.
Like, you have to play against the opposition's best to get that reputation. Like, Patrice Bergeron didn't get that reputation by matching up against third lines, right? Like, that's not what happens.
Yeah, so I felt that as a message yesterday of Pettersson taking center ice against Nathan MacKinnon to start the game. And then they go score. It's like, feed me more, brother.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Ryback.